Commander Jake Morrison was having what he considered a perfectly adequate Tuesday morning. Coffee was hot, his feet were up on the control console, and the threat board showed the usual collection of space rocks and angry diplomatic messages from various alien empires who thought humanity needed better manners. Dave, remind me why we pay you to monitor galactic communications when 90% of it is just aliens complaining about our existence. His AI assistant materialized as a blue hologram wearing digital sunglasses. Because the other 10% is usually someone trying to kill us, Jake. Speaking of which, we've got another transmission from the Zephyrian Empire. Same purple idiots. Same demands for immediate surrender. Jake nearly choked on his coffee. The Zephyrians? Those bureaucratic space accountants are still sending us strongly worded letters? What's it been, 6 months of this nonsense? 6 months, 12 days, and approximately 400 identical demands for unconditional surrender. They're very consistent. Also very purple. Did I mention they're purple? You did mention that, Dave. Multiple times. Jake leaned back in his chair, watching Earth's moon drift peacefully across his view screen. Let me guess, they want us to acknowledge their superiority, pay tribute, and probably organize our filing systems according to their cosmic bureaucracy standards? That's surprisingly accurate. They also want us to stop referring to them as space accountants in our official responses. Well, that's just unreasonable. Put them through, I need my morning entertainment. The view screen flickered, revealing Admiral Vex Thor of the Zephyrian Empire. He looked exactly like what would happen if someone crossed a middle manager with a grape that had delusions of grandeur. His purple skin gleamed under the harsh lighting of his pristine command bridge, and his 3 eyes blinked in perfect bureaucratic synchronization. Humans of Earth. Then, Vex Thor began in his annoyingly nasal voice. This is your final warning. Surrender immediately or face the consequences of defying the Zephyrian Empire. We have destroyed the moons of 47 civilizations. Yours will be 48 unless you comply within the next standard hour. Jake took another sip of coffee. You know, Vex, we've been through this dance before. You threaten, we ignore you, you send another angry message. It's like a really boring soap opera, except with more tentacles and bureaucracy. This time is different, human. We are prepared to demonstrate our resolve. Sure you are, buddy. Dave, add this to the collection. File it under empty threats from great people. That's when everything went sideways. The proximity alarm started screaming. Jake's coffee mug exploded in his hand as the entire space station shuddered. Through the view screen, he watched in absolute stupefied silence as Earth's moon simply ceased to exist. Not exploded. Not cracked apart. Just gone. Turned into a rapidly expanding cloud of rock dust and regret. Well, Jake said, staring at the space where Luna used to be, that's new. Dave's hologram flickered with what Jake had learned to recognize as digital panic. Jake, the moon is gone. Our moon. The one that's been there for 4.5 billion years. It's space dust. I can see that, Dave. Thank you for the update. Jake slowly set down what remained of his coffee mug. Vex Thor, you magnificent purple bastard, you actually did it. The Zephyrian Admiral's 3 eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Now you understand the power of the Zephyrian Empire, human. Submit, and your planet will be spared the same fate. Jake stood up, brushing ceramic fragments from his uniform. You know what, Vex? I need to make a phone call. Dave, get me General Rodriguez on priority 1. Jake, Dave whispered. What are we going to do? They just destroyed the moon. The moon, Jake. Where am I supposed to make werewolf jokes now? Jake looked out at the expanding debris field that used to be humanity's closest celestial neighbor. Then he looked back at Admiral Vex Thor's smug purple face. Dave, I think we're about to find out why you don't poke sleeping apex predators. General Patricia Rodriguez had the kind of voice that could make hardened Marines weep and enemy combatants surrender just to avoid disappointing her. When her face appeared on Jake's emergency communication screen, her expression suggested someone had just made a very serious mistake, and it wasn't her. Morrison, please tell me you have good news about our moon situation. Well, General, the good news is that we now have definitive proof that the Zephyrians aren't just bureaucratic blowhards. The bad news is that they just turned Luna into the galaxy's most expensive fireworks display. Rodriguez leaned forward, her steel-gray eyes narrowing. They actually did it. They actually destroyed our moon. Completely vaporized it, ma. Very thorough job. I'm almost impressed if I wasn't so monumentally pissed off. Jake, I need you to listen very carefully. I just got off a conference call with every major world leader, military commander, and surprisingly, the head of the International Association of Professional Wrestling. Humanity has reached a consensus. That's terrifying. What kind of consensus? The kind that involves Dr. Kellerman giggling maniacally in his laboratory while shouting things like "finally," and they started it. Are you familiar with Project Pandora? Jake felt his stomach drop into his boots. The theoretical weapons project that definitely doesn't exist and is absolutely not hidden in underground facilities across 6 continents? That's the one. It's about to become very real and very not hidden. Dave materialized beside Jake, his digital sunglasses replaced with what appeared to be digital safety goggles. General Rodriguez, this is Dave. I feel obligated to point out that most of Dr. Kellerman's projects violate several laws of physics and at least 12 galactic treaties. Dave, Earth never signed those treaties. Well, that's a horrifying loophole. Rodriguez's smile was the kind that made smart people run for cover. It gets better. Dr. Kellerman wants to speak with Jake directly. Something about field testing and poetic justice. The screen split, revealing Dr. Marcus Kellerman in what looked like a combination laboratory and medieval torture chamber. His wild gray hair stuck out in 17 different directions, his lab coat was covered in suspicious stains, and his eyes held the gleeful madness of someone who'd finally been given permission to break all the rules. Jake, my boy, wonderful news. They've given me authorization to use the fun toys. Dr. Kellerman, when you say fun toys, you mean the ones that make things cease to exist, or the ones that make things wish they had never existed? Both. Isn't science wonderful? Rodriguez cleared her throat. The point is, Jake, we're not surrendering. Every major government has agreed that humanity's official response to moon-destroying alien empires is to make them regret every life choice that led to this moment. Jake watched another Zephyrian transmission come through on his secondary screen. Admiral Vex Thor was back, looking even more smug than before. Humans, you have had sufficient time to consider surrender. What is your response? Jake looked at General Rodriguez, who nodded grimly. He looked at Dr. Kellerman, who was holding what appeared to be a device that shouldn't exist according to 3 different branches of physics. He looked at Dave, who had somehow acquired digital popcorn. Dave, open a channel to the entire Zephyrian fleet. Channel open, Jake. This should be interesting. Jake straightened his uniform, put on his most professional smile, and delivered humanity's official response to the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Vex Thor, after careful consideration and consultation with our leadership, Earth's official response to your demands is as follows. Come at us, you purple-skinned, moon-destroying, bureaucratic space weasels. We'll show you what happens when you mess with a species that evolved from predators and has serious anger management issues. The transmission cut to static. General Rodriguez was grinning like a shark. Dr. Kellerman was cackling while assembling something that glowed ominously. Dave was eating digital popcorn. Jake, Dave said conversationally, I think we just declared war on an interstellar empire. No, Dave. They declared war when they destroyed our moon. We just accepted their invitation to the party. The Zephyrians attacked Earth with all the precision and predictability of a corporate restructuring plan. Admiral Vex Thor's fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, broadcasting surrender demands on 17 different frequencies while targeting military installations with surgical precision. Dave, are you seeing this? Jake asked, watching the alien fleet maneuver like they were performing a boardroom presentation. They're actually broadcasting their attack plan in advance, Jake. They're telling us exactly which targets they intend to hit and in what order. It's like they've confused warfare with filing quarterly reports. Jake opened a channel to Captain Tommy Sullivan, who commanded Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. Tommy's ships looked like someone had built them in a garage using spare parts from a scrapyard, which wasn't far from the truth. "Tommy, please tell me you're seeing these guys telegraph their punches like amateur boxers." Tommy's voice crackled through the comm, barely audible over what sounded like his entire crew, laughing hysterically. "Jake, they just sent us a formal notification that they'll be attacking Defense Platform 7 in exactly 12 minutes. They even included a map with arrows." "That's adorably professional of them. What's your response?" "Well, Defense Platform 7 is currently a holographic projection surrounding about 40 tons of high explosives. We figure when they blow it up, they'll be in for a surprise." Jake watched the Zephyrian attack unfold with the kind of fascination usually reserved for watching someone trying to hammer a nail with a banana. They approached their targets in orderly lines, broadcast warnings before firing, and actually waited for acknowledgement before proceeding to the next phase of their attack. "Dave, are all galactic empires this polite when they're trying to conquer people?" "According to my databases, the Zephyrians have successfully conquered 47 civilizations using these exact tactics. Apparently most species surrender after the moon demonstration and formal battle plan presentation. Most species clearly lack imagination." That's when Tommy's trap triggered. Defense Platform 7 exploded in a brilliant flash of light and superheated metal fragments, taking 3 Zephyrian cruisers with it. The remaining alien ships actually stopped their attack to hold what appeared to be an emergency committee meeting. Jake opened a channel to the Zephyrian flagship. "Admiral Vex Thor, having some technical difficulties? Need a few minutes to update your attack algorithms?" Vex Thor's 3 eyes blinked in confusion. "Human Morrison, your defense platform was not supposed to explode with that magnitude. Our tactical analysis indicated a simple defensive structure." "Well, there's your problem right there, Vex. You analyzed what we wanted you to see instead of what we actually built. It's called misdirection. Humans invented it right after we invented lying to avoid doing chores." Tommy's voice cut into the channel. "Jake, they're regrouping for another attack. Same formation, same predictable patterns. Should I deploy the Chaos Special?" "What's the Chaos Special?" "Remember those old cargo haulers we were going to scrap? We filled them with remote piloting systems and enough explosives to level a city block. Boom goes the dynamite." Jake watched as a dozen battered cargo ships suddenly broke from Earth's atmosphere, heading directly toward the Zephyrian fleet at ramming speed. The aliens, clearly expecting another orderly engagement, tried to establish communication with the cargo vessels to negotiate their surrender. The cargo ships responded by exploding on contact with Zephyrian shields, each detonation bright enough to briefly outshine the sun. "Dave, are you recording this?" "Already composing the after-action report, Jake. Should I file it under successful military operations or reasons why aliens should have done more research before picking this fight?" Admiral Vex Thor's transmission came through again, his voice carrying a note of panic that his bureaucratic training hadn't prepared him for. "Human Morrison, your tactics violate 17 articles of civilized warfare. You cannot simply throw explosive devices at enemy vessels without proper targeting protocols." "Vex, buddy, I hate to break this to you, but we never agreed to fight civilized. You destroyed our moon. We're fighting like the barely controlled descendants of persistence hunters who climbed to the top of their food chain by being too stubborn to die properly. This is highly irregular. I must consult with the War Council." Jake leaned back in his chair, watching the remaining Zephyrian ships retreat to a safe distance while their commander presumably filled out forms requesting permission to deal with humans who refused to follow proper military etiquette. "Tommy, how many more cargo ship surprises do we have?" "About 3 dozen, plus Maria's urban warfare specialists have some ideas about turning civilian infrastructure into very pointed suggestions that the aliens should leave." "Dave, remind me to never get on humanity's bad side." "Jake, you are humanity." "Exactly my point." Admiral Vex Thor had clearly attended the wrong seminars on interstellar conquest. His response to humanity's unconventional tactics was to escalate in the most predictably bureaucratic way possible, but He filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Warfare Ethics Committee and began targeting Earth's civilian population centers. Dave, are you getting readings on those new Zephyrian weapon signatures? They're using what appears to be precision orbital bombardment platforms, Jake. Very clean, very efficient, designed to minimize collateral damage while maximizing psychological impact. It's like they're trying to conduct a hostile corporate takeover of an entire planet. Jake watched the first Zephyrian bombardment strike downtown Los Angeles. The aliens had clearly studied human urban planning because they hit the financial district with surgical precision, expecting mass panic and immediate surrender. Instead, they got Maria Vasquez. Jake, this is Boom. You copy? Maria's voice cut through the calm static with the kind of calm that suggested someone had just made a serious tactical error. Maria Boom. Vasquez had earned her nickname during the Urban Warfare Academy, where she'd turned a routine training exercise into a 3-day siege that ended with the instructors surrendering to her position. Copy, Boom. What's your situation down there? Well, the purple accountants just blew up the Bank of America building. Unfortunately for them, they missed the 47 improvised explosive devices we had pre-positioned in the surrounding blocks. Also unfortunately for them, demolishing downtown LA just united every gang, cartel, corporate security team, an extremely angry soccer mom in the greater metropolitan area. Jake pulled up the tactical display showing Los Angeles. What he saw defied several military textbooks and at least one international treaty on the definition of civilian resistance. Boom. Are those soccer moms actually building barricades out of minivans? The soccer moms are handling logistics, Jake. The real fun starts when you see what the LAPD Task Force is doing with confiscated weapons and some very creative interpretations of civil defense laws. The Zephyrian orbital bombardment continued with mechanical precision, each strike perfectly calculated to destroy infrastructure while avoiding civilian casualties. What the aliens hadn't calculated was that humans consider infrastructure destruction a personal challenge rather than a deterrent. Dr. Kellerman's voice crackled through the emergency frequency. Jake, my boy, are you ready for the grand unveiling? Doctor, please tell me you've been working on something that doesn't violate the laws of physics too badly. Oh, it violates them magnificently. Turns out, when you combine Zephyrian shield harmonics with human engineering principles, you get some wonderfully destructive resonance effects. I call it the reality adjustment device. Jake decided he didn't want to know what that meant. Dave, patch me through to the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral Vex Thor appeared on screen, his 3 eyes blinking in what Jake had learned to recognize as bureaucratic confusion. Behind him, his bridge crew was frantically consulting what appeared to be procedure manuals. Human Morrison, your species' response to orbital bombardment is highly irregular. Our psychological warfare projections indicated immediate surrender following civilian target engagement. Vex, let me explain something about humans. We're the species that invented the concept of hold my beer and watch this. Attacking our cities didn't make us surrender. It made us angry. And when humans get angry, we start breaking things in ways that would make a physicist weep. This is unacceptable. Civilized species do not respond to overwhelming force with increased resistance. It's inefficient. Kent. That's where you made your first mistake, Admiral. You assumed we were civilized. The tactical display lit up with new contacts. Not more Zephyrian ships, but something much worse for the Purple Empire. Every major criminal organization, corporate military contractor, and private military company on Earth had just declared a temporary alliance under the banner of Make the Aliens Regret Everything. Dave, are those readings correct? Is that the Yakuza working with the Mafia, working with Blackwater, working with the Hells Angels? Jake, I'm detecting coordination between organizations that have been trying to kill each other for decades. Apparently, the only thing humans hate more than each other is aliens who think they can push us around. Dr. Kellerman's voice cut through the calm chatter. Jake, the reality adjustment device is ready for field testing. Should I aim for the Zephyrian flagship, or would you prefer a more dramatic demonstration? Jake looked at the tactical display showing Earth's improvised defense forces, then at Admiral Vex Thor's increasingly confused expression. Doctor, surprise me. The next few seconds redefined several textbook definitions of overkill. Admiral Vex Thor's response to humanity's escalating creativity was to call in the entire Zephyrian fleet. Not just his task force, but the full Imperial Armada, the 600 ships representing the combined military might of an empire that had successfully conquered 47 star systems. "Jake," Dave said, his holographic form now wearing what appeared to be digital battle armor. "I'm reading massive hyperspace signatures. The entire Zephyrian Empire just showed up to our little party." "How many ships are we talking about, Dave?" 612, including their flagship dreadnought bureaucratic excellence. "I wish I was making that name up." Jake opened a channel to Earth's combined defense forces, which now included everyone from NASA engineers to NASCAR pit crews who'd volunteered to help soup up the defense platforms. "All stations, this is Morrison. Looks like the Purple Empire decided to bring their entire navy to demonstrate why we should have surrendered when they asked nicely." Tommy Sullivan's voice crackled through the comm. "Jake, my improvised fleet is looking at odds of roughly 50-1. The good news is, Dr. Kellerman just finished installing his reality adjustment devices on our ships. The bad news is, he won't tell us what they actually do." "Tommy, with Kellerman's inventions, that's probably for the best. Ignorance is bliss when it comes to his interpretation of physics." Dr. Kellerman's maniacal laughter filled the channel. "My dear friends, you're about to witness the field testing of 6 months' worth of reverse-engineered alien technology improved with human engineering principles." Dr. Jake said carefully, "When you say improved, you mean made more efficient, right?" "I mean made bigger, louder, and significantly more exploding. We took their elegant energy weapons and asked ourselves, what if these were less elegant and more like controlled nuclear explosions?" Admiral Vex Thor's transmission cut through the chatter, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd just deployed overwhelming force. "Humans of Earth, you are now facing the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender immediately, and we will consider granting you the privilege of serving as a minor administrative colony." Jake looked at the tactical display showing 600 alien warships in perfect formation, their weapons charging with mathematical precision. Then he looked at Earth's defense fleet, 43 ships that looked like they'd been assembled by enthusiastic amateurs with access to explosive ordnance and too much free time. "Admiral Vex Thor, I have a counter-proposal. How about you surrender to us, and we'll consider not turning your entire empire into a cautionary tale about picking fights with apex predators who've had a really bad week?" "Impossible. Your primitive vessels cannot possibly threaten ships of the Imperial fleet." That's when Dr. Kellerman activated the reality adjustment devices. Jake had seen a lot of explosions in his career. Ship-to-ship combat, orbital bombardments, that unfortunate incident with the experimental reactor that nobody talked about anymore. But he'd never seen anything quite like watching alien energy shields harmonically resonate themselves into non-existence while their hulls experienced what could only be described as catastrophic structural rearrangement. "Dave, are you recording this?" "Jake, I'm not just recording it. I'm broadcasting it live to every communication frequency in the galaxy. The betting pools on 17 different worlds just shifted dramatically in humanity's favor. The Zephyrian flagship bureaucratic excellence lasted exactly 47 seconds before its shields collapsed and its hull began folding in on itself like origami made of metal and regret." Admiral Vex Thor's final transmission was barely coherent. "This is impossible. Your technology level is insufficient for this level of destruction. You're violating fundamental principles of warfare." Tommy Sullivan's voice cut through the chaos. "Jake, I think we just turned the entire Zephyrian Imperial fleet into the galaxy's most expensive scrap metal collection. Any survivors?" "A few escape pods. Should we pick them up?" Jake considered this. "Dave, what's the standard protocol for defeated alien invaders?" "According to galactic law, we're supposed to accept their surrender and process them through appropriate diplomatic channels." "And according to human law?" "We're supposed to make sure they understand exactly why this was a really bad idea." Jake opened a channel to the surviving Zephyrian escape pods. "Attention, former members of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. This is Commander Morrison of Earth Defense. You are now prisoners of war. You will be processed according to human military protocols, which means hot meals, medical attention, and mandatory viewing of every movie where humans defeat overwhelming odds through stubbornness and creative violence. That seems unnecessarily cruel, Jake. Dave, they destroyed our moon. I'm being generous. 6 months later, Jake sat in his new office on the former Zephyrian homeworld of Bureaucraxis Prime, filling out what had to be the most surreal after-action report in military history. Through his window, he could see construction crews retrofitting alien architecture with human amenities, which apparently meant adding coffee shops and sports bars to buildings designed for maximum administrative efficiency. Dave, remind me how we ended up as the galaxy's designated peacekeepers. Well, Jake, after humanity systematically dismantled the Zephyrian Empire in under 3 months, every other species in the galaxy decided they'd rather have us on their side than find out what happens when they annoy us. Jake leaned back in his chair, which had been designed for beings with 3 legs and no sense of ergonomic comfort. Run through the final numbers again. I want to make sure I get this report right. The Zephyrian Empire consisted of 48 conquered worlds, 12 major industrial centers, and approximately 200 billion beings who thought they were living under an unbeatable military dictatorship. And now they're living in the human protection zone, which is basically the same thing except with better food, more entertainment options, and significantly less bureaucratic paperwork. Oh, and every former Zephyrian official has been assigned to customer service positions at various call centers. Jake couldn't help but smile. I still can't believe the key to our victory was that every human prisoner the Zephyrians captured was actually a volunteer operative. The Trojan horse strategy worked remarkably well, considering we'd been planning it since our long-range sensors first detected their approaching fleet 8 months ago. Turns out, humans are exceptionally good at pretending to be helpless while actually being the opposite. The final tally was almost embarrassing. While the Zephyrians had been focused on their formal conquest of Earth, humanity had been systematically infiltrating their empire. Every human merchant vessel that had been destroyed was actually transmitting detailed intelligence about Zephyrian military capabilities. Every human diplomat who had been captured was actually mapping their command structure. Every human colony that had surrendered was actually stockpiling weapons and coordinating resistance movements. Dave, what's the status on the other galactic empires? The Crystalline hegemony sent us a formal friendship treaty, along with their complete military specifications. The Tentacle Consortium offered to make us their exclusive military contractors. The Hive Mind Collective asked if we'd be interested in a cultural exchange program, which I think means they want to study how we manage to be individually crazy and collectively terrifying. Jake's desk chimed with an incoming transmission. General Rodriguez appeared on the screen, looking remarkably pleased with herself. Morrison, how's the new assignment treating you? Well, General, I'm now the military governor of a former alien empire. My coffee shop serves beverages to 17 different species, and I've had to mediate 3 separate diplomatic incidents involving humans trying to race alien spacecraft through asteroid fields. Sounds like a typical Tuesday for humanity's first interstellar administrator. General, there's something I need to ask. Did we really plan this entire operation from the beginning, or did we just get lucky with improvisation? Rodriguez's smile was the kind that suggested classified information and carefully planned chaos. Jake, do you remember when our deep space sensors first detected the Zephyrian fleet approaching Earth? 8 months ago. Right around the time Dr. Kellerman started working on Project Pandora. And do you remember when we started the volunteer prisoner program? 7 months ago. About the time when every major human corporation suddenly developed an interest in interstellar commerce. And when did we begin broadcasting our desperate last stand across the galaxy? Jake felt the pieces clicking together. 6 months ago. Right when other species started placing bets on how long we'd last against the Zephyrian Empire. Jake, humanity didn't stumble into becoming the galaxy's dominant military power. We engineered it. The only thing the Zephyrians destroyed was our moon. Everything else went exactly according to plan. Jake stared out his window at the bustling streets of Bureaucraxis Prime, where humans and former Zephyrian citizens were working together to build something that looked suspiciously like a peaceful, prosperous society. Dave, are you telling me we basically conquered an entire interstellar empire as revenge for destroying the moon? Jake, we conquered an entire interstellar empire because they made the mistake of thinking humans would react to overwhelming force by surrendering instead of getting creative. The moon was just their opening move in a game they didn't realize we'd been playing since we invented warfare. Jake picked up his stylus and began writing his final entry in the after-action report. In conclusion, the Zephyrian Empire learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of underestimating a species that considers impossible odds to be a personal challenge rather than a deterrent. Recommendation for future alien empires: ride diplomacy first. Humans are surprisingly reasonable when you're not actively destroying their celestial bodies. He paused, then added, P.S. Earth is still accepting applications for moon reconstruction projects. No Zephyrians need apply.